The beginning of 2025 brought a scene of unimaginable destruction to the sprawling metropolis of Los Angeles. What started as a small brush fire quickly escalated into a full-blown catastrophe, engulfing the city in a matter of hours. The sheer intensity of the flames was something out of a nightmare, with towering infernos consuming everything in their path. Wildfires, fueled by a dangerous combination of drought-stricken vegetation and powerful Santa Ana winds, tore through the city with terrifying speed. The winds acted like a bellows, fanning the flames and spreading them faster than anyone could have anticipated. Firefighters were stretched thin, battling against the relentless advance of the firestorm. From the iconic Hollywood Hills to the beaches of Malibu, flames devoured everything in their path, leaving a trail of devastation and despair. Landmarks that once symbolized the glamour and beauty of Los Angeles were reduced to charred remnants, a stark reminder of nature's unforgiving power. The scale of the disaster was unprecedented. Entire neighborhoods were wiped off the map, and the landscape was transformed into a barren wasteland. The once lush hills and valleys were now a monochrome of ash and soot, a haunting testament to the fire's fury. Thousands of homes were reduced to ashes, and businesses were left in ruins. Families were displaced, their lives turned upside down in an instant. The economic impact was staggering, with billions of dollars in damages and a long road to recovery ahead. The air grew thick with smoke, turning the once vibrant city into a scene from a dystopian nightmare. The sun was blotted out by the dense, acrid clouds, casting an eerie twilight over the city even at midday. Breathing became difficult, and the health risks were immediate and severe. The eerie orange glow of the flames reflected in the eyes of terrified residents as they fled their homes, desperately seeking safety from the inferno. Evacuation centers quickly filled to capacity, and the sense of panic was palpable. The community came together in the face of adversity, but the scars of this disaster would linger for years to come. The wildfires that ravaged Los Angeles were not a natural disaster in the traditional sense. While the region is prone to wildfires due to its dry climate and the presence of flammable chaparral, these fires were exacerbated by a confluence of factors, many of them directly linked to human activity. A prolonged drought, the worst in recorded history, had turned the vegetation into tinder, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. This drought was not simply a natural fluctuation in weather patterns. It was made significantly more likely and severe by the long-term warming of the planet caused by greenhouse gas emissions. As if the sight of raging wildfires consuming homes and businesses were not terrifying enough, residents witnessed a phenomenon straight out of an apocalyptic film: fire tornadoes. These towering vortexes of flame, formed by the intense heat and swirling winds, danced across the landscape, leaving a path of destruction in their wake. The fire tornadoes, some reaching hundreds of feet in height, were a terrifying manifestation of the extreme conditions created by climate change. The combination of record-breaking heat, tinder-dry vegetation, and powerful Santa Ana winds created a perfect storm for these monstrous infernos to form, adding another layer of horror to the already catastrophic situation. As the wildfires swept through Los Angeles, many residents found themselves trapped in their homes, surrounded by walls of flames and choking smoke. The speed at which the fires spread, fueled by the dry conditions and strong winds, left little time for escape. Frantic calls for help flooded emergency lines, but the sheer scale of the disaster overwhelmed first responders. Firefighters, working tirelessly in perilous conditions, risked their lives to rescue those who were trapped. The images of firefighters carrying children to safety, their faces blackened with soot, became symbols of both the heroism and the utter devastation of the disaster. Section 5. The unmistakable fingerprints of climate change. The link between the Los Angeles wildfires and climate change is undeniable. While wildfires are a natural part of the California ecosystem, the frequency, intensity, and sheer scale of these fires have reached unprecedented levels in recent years. This dramatic increase in wildfire activity is directly attributable to the warming of the planet. As the Earth's temperature rises due to the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, heat waves become more frequent and intense, leading to prolonged droughts and turning vegetation into highly flammable fuel. This creates ideal conditions for wildfires to ignite and spread with extraordinary speed and ferocity. Climate scientists have long warned that climate change would lead to more extreme weather events, including more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts, and wildfires. These predictions are not just based on theoretical models, but are grounded in extensive research and data collected over decades. The evidence is overwhelming and continues to grow, painting a dire picture of our planet's future if we do not take immediate action. The Los Angeles wildfires are a tragic confirmation of these warnings, a stark reminder that the consequences of inaction are no longer theoretical, but are playing out in real time with devastating consequences. These fires have destroyed homes, displaced thousands of people, and caused untold damage to the environment. The smoke and ash from these fires have also contributed to air pollution, posing serious health risks to the population. Peter Kalmus, a NASA climate scientist and outspoken advocate for climate action, called the Los Angeles wildfires a glimpse into our future if we fail to address the climate crisis. He has been vocal about the need for urgent action, emphasizing that the window for preventing the worst impacts of climate change is rapidly closing. Kalmus has highlighted that the science is clear and the solutions are within our reach, but it requires the collective will to implement them. Kalmus, along with many other scientists, has been sounding the alarm for years, urging policymakers to take immediate and decisive action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the worst effects of climate change. They have proposed a range of solutions, from transitioning to renewable energy sources to implementing stricter regulations on carbon emissions. The scientific community is united in its message: the time to act is now. Failure to do so will result in more frequent and severe climate-related disasters, affecting millions of lives and causing irreversible damage to our planet. In the aftermath of the Los Angeles wildfires, the true scale of the devastation became horrifyingly clear. The once vibrant city, a symbol of glamour and opportunity, was scarred with the wounds of a disaster that will take years, if not decades, to heal. The air, thick with smoke and the smell of ash, served as a constant reminder of the inferno that had swept through. The process of rebuilding will be long and arduous. Thousands of people were left homeless, their lives upended by the loss of their homes and possessions. The economic toll of the disaster is staggering, with businesses destroyed, tourism disrupted, and the cost of rebuilding infrastructure estimated to be in the billions. The Los Angeles wildfires, while a tragedy of unimaginable proportions, also ignited a wave of activism and demands for change. As residents began to grapple with the scale of the disaster and the clear link to climate change, a collective anger and frustration arose, spilling onto the streets in the form of massive protests. Thousands of people from all walks of life marched through the streets of Los Angeles, demanding that their elected officials take immediate and decisive action to address the climate crisis. The protests were a powerful display of collective grief, anger, and determination, a resounding call for change that could no longer be ignored. The Los Angeles wildfires of 2025 serve as a stark and tragic reminder of the urgent need to address the climate crisis. These fires, fueled by prolonged droughts and record-breaking heat waves, have devastated communities, destroyed homes, and taken lives. They are not isolated incidents, but part of a growing pattern of extreme weather events that are becoming more frequent and severe. They are a glimpse into a future where extreme weather events, once considered rare, become increasingly common, wreaking havoc on communities and ecosystems worldwide. Floods, hurricanes, and melting glaciers are no longer distant threats, but present realities that we must confront. The impact on biodiversity, agriculture, and human health is profound and far-reaching. The choice before us is clear. We stand at a critical crossroads, where the decisions we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. Will we continue to ignore the mounting evidence and warnings, or will we take bold and decisive action to mitigate the effects of climate change? We can continue down a path of inaction, ignoring the warnings of scientists and the pleas of those most affected by climate change. This path leads to more pollution, more destruction, and a world where the most vulnerable suffer the most. It is a path of short-term gains at the expense of long-term sustainability. Or we can choose a different path, one that embraces a rapid and just transition to a clean energy future, one that prioritizes the health of our planet and the well-being of all people. This path involves investing in renewable energy, supporting sustainable practices, and fostering a culture of environmental stewardship. It is a path of hope, innovation, and resilience. The future of our planet, and the fate of generations to come, hangs in the balance. The actions we take now will determine the legacy we leave behind. It is within our power to create a sustainable and equitable world for all. The time to act is now.